It cuts deeply, both ways. The boy's face was hidden in shadow, but she could sense his gaze did not waver from the small green vial she held between the index finger and thumb of her right hand. He gave a slight nod of his head to acknowledge what she had said. Do not underestimate me, boy. This is not the prick of a thorn I speak of, but the rending of flesh and spirit. You cannot ask of another what you are not willing to give yourself. She called him boy, as his youth was obvious, even if in this day and age he was already considered a man. A line, ever so faint but obvious still against his otherwise smooth forehead, appeared. His gaze devoured the green vial for another 1, 2, 3 seconds, and then his eyes rose to meet hers, his entire face moving out of shadow. She froze, seemingly only for a second under mortal scrutiny, but in her mind something shifted. A memory, a slither, a crack spreading over thin ice, racing now to begin an avalanche. The 9 worlds trembled, from Asgard all the way to Helmheim, and then they were still. Beware the deep frost, you will know him by his eyes, and those that are of the earth and under the earth shall rise, rise, and rise. This the Norns had recited to her at the beginning of all things, so she would know the dawning of the end. The boy's irises were white, a stark sheer brilliance against the pitch blackness of his pupils. Against this alabaster, tiny veins of sharp cobalt spread from the centre to the outer edge, like diminutive fissures against a field of snow. The deep frost had arrived. She tilted her head, as if viewing him from a slightly different angle may reveal something that deviated from her initial assessment. No, he was here, and it was time for her to pass on the gift she had been holding on to for countless mortal lifetimes. She pulled the green vial back into the folds of her robes and leant back in the chair. His eyes followed her movement, the frown deepening as the vial disappeared from view. I thought you said that was all I needed. I've paid your price. She smiled at him, the left side of her mouth higher than the right, giving her expression a smirk-like quality. For you, something stronger. I sense your feelings are pure, and finding your soulmate is paramount to achieve your destiny in this life and the next. For you, a panacea used by the gods of old. As she spoke, she withdrew her hand from her robes, and upon her open palm was a miniature clear jar, no more than 1 inch in diameter, containing a liquid that at once seemed both clear but also iridescent, with a luminosity that pulsed as if the very jar had its own heartbeat. She set it down on the table between them, and it seemed to the boy as if, as her hand ceased contact with the vessel, the luminescence faded, and the liquid became perfectly clear. This once was ambrosia to the gods of old, a cure for all ailments, a healer of what was broken, and was what yet to be made. He tentatively reached for the jar, his fingers stopping a hair's breadth from the surface. So, this too is a love potion? He asked, looking to her for reassurance before touching it. She nodded at him to indicate the jar was his to take, and as his fingertips met the surface, the liquid flashed brightly, causing both of them to avert their eyes. As the light dimmed, the boy withdrew his hands, and before them both the clear liquid had now turned a violent crimson. Fast forward now. To the unknowing voyeur, the noises coming from the back of the car could easily be mistaken as the sounds of passion. A low, masculine groan in duet with a number of high-pitched soprano gasps. Other sounds, a melody of slick skin on skin, could be heard just a few metres from the vehicle. Close enough then, for said voyeur to perhaps start to reconsider their first assessment. Under the pale moonlight, all things leached of their true colour, a dark liquid can be seen splattered against the rear passenger window. Inside the vehicle, on the back seat, a young female sits astride the boy. At first glance, she appears to be wearing a tight-fitting top. Silk, perhaps, something with a light sheen that fits close to her body. The short skirt is bunched around her waist as she sits astride the lap of the boy, legs stretched out to one side, body twisted to face him. Look again. The female wears no clothing. Her skin is covered in blood, thick across her entire torso. Ribbons of flesh cut from her back, sides, chest, fall around her waist, giving the appearance of cloth. Her hands grip the sides of the boy's head. His mouth covers hers, their aria of devotion rising in volume. The boy wears a shirt, its original colour unknowable, unbuttoned and pushed back, so as voyeurs can see his chest covered in blood from his neck to just below his breastbone. Where his stomach should be is a gaping cavern of darkness, part of his entrails lying across the top of the thighs of the female, adding to the mirage that she is clothed. Even as his lips engulf hers, her eyes are wide, open and seeing. No more that alabaster of the innocent, now pitch dark, light stolen. Thank you.
Well done, Katie.